A young boy disappeared on a Monday night. 22 hours later, he was found, but he's not alone. When Kaydon's parents realized that their son had gone missing on an April evening in 2018, it was incredibly warm outside. They initially believed he was engaging in a game of hide-and-seek, but quickly realized that was not the case. They locate him after nearly 22 hours of searching, but are stopped in their tracks when they discover he's not alone. Let's start this amazing story of a young boy. But before we start, don't forget to hit the like button and also subscribe to our channel to get some interesting stuff. In Blount County, Tennessee, the family lived in a small community known as Top of the World. Kaydon's parents did not have any objection if he played by himself, as long as he did not go too far without informing them. Kaydon was still missing on April 23, 2018, despite the fact that darkness had fallen. Naturally, his parents were concerned about his whereabouts. After all, he usually returned home by 6 p.m. While they were aware that he'd been playing outside as usual, they became concerned when he failed to return home that evening. His parents initially assumed that he'd simply been hiding somewhere in the house. When they realized their error, they contacted James Lee Barong, the Blount County Sheriff. They didn't want to take any risks because it was getting colder and darker outside and Kaydon was without a coat. They were baffled as to why their son had vanished so quickly. They did, however, want to find him and return him. There was clearly something out of the ordinary going on here. They had a gut feeling that this was the case, even though they had no knowledge of it. The sheriff of the county was well aware that time was of the essence. He quickly enlisted others' assistance in spreading the word about Kaydon. A person was usually required to wait at least 24 hours before filing a missing person report. However, because it was a small community, this was not the case. They were truly worried. Initially, they thought that he'd been kidnapped. It's possible that he was freezing because he was not wearing his coat. The sheriff had no desire to speculate on the worst-case scenario, so he worked quickly and as much as he could to help the family. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation issued an endangered child alert at 7 p.m. that night. According to the sheriff's office, the alert mentioned Kaydon's appearance. It pleaded with the community members to look for him, noting that he was last seen around 6 p.m. Kaydon stood 4 feet tall, weighed 27 kilograms, or about 60 pounds, and had brown hair and blue eyes, according to his parents. Aside from that, they also revealed that he was wearing at the time of the disappearance to the sheriff. He was dressed in black slacks, gray sweatpants, and a black shirt. A search and rescue mission was carried out by the local sheriff's department. Meanwhile, a military Black Hawk helicopter from the nearby McGee-Tyson Air Base assisted in the search. After Barong received the phone call from the Leach family, things got started quickly. They launched a ground operation in addition to using the chopper to search for the boy. Almost 100 first responders made up the search and rescue team, which covered 2,000 acres of mountainous terrain. The question was whether they would be able to locate this young boy before it became too late. Aside from the iPause message, the Blount County community was kept informed about what was going on thanks to a smartphone app called Nextdoor. This program aided in the spread of the word even more. It's a relatively private social network for residents in a given area. Many people were unable to assist with the search, but they made every effort to assist in any way they could. One of the local volunteers told WVLT News, "We're a very tight community. We try to help everyone. I got a phone call about what was going on. I was coming up the mountain from work and just shot straight over and did everything I could to help." Everybody pitched in to help spread the word about this breaking story. The Tennessee Endangered Child Alert also shared a photo of the youngster on Facebook. They also described Kaydon Leach's appearance and the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. The post was also posted by WBIR Channel 10. The post was shared over 2,000 times and received around 350 reactions after it was updated with more information. Kaydon's whereabouts were the focus of the entire community search. The word got around like wildfire. Even though they put in the most effort and the assistance of local volunteers, the search yielded no results. The searchers were unable to locate the young boy. It was dark and it was cold at this point too. As time went on and no one had found the missing boy, authorities became increasingly worried about him getting sick if he wasn't found soon. In his case, the weather was deadly due to the fact that he was not wearing warm clothes. This spurred them to act faster. They were well aware that he was dressed in insufficiently warm clothing to keep him warm during the night. For someone his age and size, that may prove lethal. It was critical that he be located as quickly as possible. This was the point at which the search for Kaydon drew in an increasing number of people. They were all aware of the urgency of rapidly locating him. None of them wanted to hear about the possibility of a tragedy as a result of this. For the next couple of hours, the search continued. Within a half-mile radius of the Leach family home, they focused on that area. In order to expand the search into the surrounding rural and mountainous area, they had to wait until morning. His parents were undoubtedly worried about him. They were nervous, scared, and even guilty for allowing him to play alone outside. It took some time, but they eventually found out that Kaydon was safe and sound. What actually happened? By staying up all night, the residents of the community demonstrated how close-knit and dedicated they were. They provided the volunteers with water and snacks. It was their way of assisting the first responders who had been searching for Kaydon nonstop. Kaydon had to be somewhere out there, they knew. It was only a matter of staying committed and focused. They had no intention of abandoning the mission until Kaydon was returned to his family. They were dead set on doing just that. It became a little easier to locate the young boy once it was daylight again. While the search for him remained difficult, no one gave up hope. They were all holding out hope that they'd be able to find Kaydon alive and well. It was time for the crews to get down and look for Kaydon some more, now that they had even more ideas of where to look. Kaydon's parents were naturally concerned that he was scared, hungry, and alone somewhere. Everyone hoped he was doing well. Because it was possible that he'd fallen in or drowned, search crews went to the lake to look for him. They didn't notice him, though. The Black Hawk chopper continued to look for him from above as the ground search continued. They decided to look at the mountainsides and various abandoned buildings in the area after checking out the lake. It was possible that Kaydon sought refuge in one of those structures to avoid the cold. Sadly, they were unable to locate him there as well. After the early morning hours had passed, they still had no idea where Kaydon Leach was. His family tried to think of other places he could have gone. Is there something sinister going on here? It sounded like an impossibility in their community to the people there. It made no sense to his parents that he had vanished without warning. After all, he was well aware of his curfew and the limits of his freedom. Something didn't add up here, and everyone knew it. To figure out where Kaydon might have gone while playing outside, the rescuers tried to think like a child. This only encouraged them to think creatively. They even went to places and looked in places they wouldn't have looked otherwise. They checked the woods as well as the abandoned buildings. They didn't realize it at the time, but they were getting closer. They began looking for abandoned structures in the region. They went deeper into the woods to continue their search. They had no idea they were coming closer and closer to finally discovering Kaydon. They had a sneaking suspicion they were onto something. The crew made sure to check the entire area, and they went into the woods not far from the neighborhood. They were officially out of options for where Kaydon could have gone if he wasn't there. The afternoon was drawing to a close, and everyone knew they'd be stuck when night fell. Time was running out, but they were distracted when they heard a strange noise in the woods. The afternoon progressed. All the volunteers involved were aware that they needed to continue searching until it became dark and night fell. The clock was ticking, quite literally. They were all startled by a noise. It came from within the woods. It piqued their interest immediately. What if it was him pleading for help? Rescuers and volunteers arrived at the area where the sound was originating. Suddenly, they found Kaydon, only a quarter mile from his house. Since he hadn't ventured far during the night, he had to wait until the morning to start his expedition. The young boy must have become disoriented, paralyzed by fear, or chose to remain where he was. However, what surprised everyone was that he was not alone when he went missing. No, he was not alone. Kaydon Leach had been missing for 22 hours when they found him around 3:30 p.m. that day. They discovered him and discovered what was making the growling sound. Chula, his black and white terrier, was the culprit. The dog growled at the rescuers when they approached Kaydon, so the dog is a protector. BCSO Chief Deputy Jeff French said in a statement, Chula did everything she could to keep Kaydon safe and sound throughout the night while they were in the woods. When they discovered the missing boy, he didn't appear to be in good health. When they asked Kaydon how he felt, he said he was very cold. He only wore gray sweatpants and a black shirt. This accounts for his extreme cold that night. Additionally, his skin was purple and cold. Additionally, the search team inquired as to his whereabouts. They informed Kaydon that they would transport him to safety after he gave them the address. He acquired medical attention, but they also had to look after Chalupa, the dog. Before these responders could transport Kaydon to his home, they transported him to the Blount Memorial Hospital to be evaluated by medical personnel. They wanted to make certain he did not suffer from hypothermia or any other health problems before dropping him off at home. The family was overjoyed to see the little boy safe and sound. Their minds simply could not comprehend that Chula was standing right there in front of them the entire time. It was almost like something you'd see in a movie or a book. Kaydon's family decided to issue an official statement while he was being checked out at Blount Memorial Hospital. They initially had no information about his condition or the circumstances surrounding his disappearance. Nonetheless, his family wanted to express their gratitude to the incredible local volunteers and rescue teams who went above and beyond to help them in finding their son. That's all for today's video. Please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share the video with your friends.